Welcome back to my channel. I decided this week to go with more of a what did I make throughout the week versus showing you each day. It just made it much more manageable for me than trying to figure out how to film every day. So we're gonna go with this format this week and we'll see how it does. So I want to first start out by showing you there are items that I made last week, but as I showed you at the end of the video, I didn't finish them. So I'm going to show you them finished first, and then we'll move on to what I made and what I used this week. So starting off, I finished putting together the Grim Reaper. I sewed it all together. It is 3 parts, so it is the head, the hood, and then the body. Now the pattern called for a size 7 hook and I sized down. However, I feel like if I kept it in the 7, the hood would be a bit more drapey and a little bit easier to work and sew together. So I think I'm gonna try this pattern again, but in a different type of yarn versus the blanket yarn. So maybe one of the smaller or more chenille type yarns. And then with the bigger size hook, just to see if it comes together any easier, just because it's a little stiff for my liking, but it could also just be the pattern. So I think I'm going to give it one more shot before I decide if I'm going to make or not make it again. I also finished up my Love Cat. So this here is that small or medium size. And I decided to go with pink for the nose and the butt and then white for whiskers, just because it's hard to see with the black. And I decided to do that with just the bigger one and something that I'm going to show later. If you hear barking, I apologize. Someone's not listening today. As for the mini kitties, I have the 2 and then a 3rd that I finished. And again, I decided to do that black, and that's why I kind of changed my mind, because for the littles, I didn't think it'd be that big of a deal, but it's really hard to see. So that's why I switched up the colors for the big ones. So for this week, I only have 1 mini kitty in the black, but the other 2 were from last week. I just lumped them together. As for this week, I didn't crochet much over the weekend. So like I said, Saturday was spent mainly finishing up those and making that additional mini Love Cat. Sunday, I only ended up making 1 thing, but I did use a skein of yarn. I made another Dippy the Dino, this time in green, or the color lime. This is this guy. So now I almost have the whole rainbow. I just won't have purple because I don't have purple in that color. I ordered a skein of purple in Premier Plush so I can kind of compare and see the difference and maybe be able to make a full rainbow of dinosaurs, but I don't know. You'll have to wait for my yarn haul for that. Monday, I also didn't do too much crocheting. I did start making a top, which I haven't finished yet. I am using the I Love This cotton, so it's taking a bit. I did end up finishing 1 skein, but that's not going to finish a top, and I'll show you that later when it's finished. But for Monday, I do have 1 skein down. Tuesday, I made a blueberry hoodie bear out of Parfait Chunky. Again, using the Nooks Hooks pattern. I just used the basic sweatshirt and then added the little frill on top to make it give it the blueberry look. I believe I used, what color did I use? I think I used apricot for the body, and then I used rock candy for the blue, and I did finish a skein of, well, a partial skein part that I had left of the rock candy, and then had to start a new skein, but didn't finish that one because that's not going to take a full skein just for the sweatshirt. But so that's 1 skein down and 1 plushie down for Tuesday. And then to round out Tuesday, I wanted to try and get as much of that black skein, that cinder that I had started, to finish up last week's projects. I don't think I fully finished the skein yet. I literally have like the littlest a bit left, like not enough to do a full project, but too much to call it done. But I made 2 witch hat cats. I have these 2, and I did finish up the partial skein I have of this violet color by the Premier Brights. Again, in that medium size. I started off my Wednesday working on a custom Love Cat. I got an order for 2 custom Love Cats, And what I do with my customers that want them is I had them send me pictures of their cats, and I tell them it's going to be my best. It is in low form. It is handmade. It's not going to be exact, but I do tell them, but I do try my best. And so I started this one, and it's like a gray tortoisey. So I mixed up Pale Gray by Bernat and then the gray cloud color from the Bernat Mysticals together to make cat number 1. And again, with the custom orders, I give them the options if they want just the black safety eyes or if they'd like to go for the custom resin eyes, and they normally will go for the custom resin eyes. So that has that as well. After I worked on the cat, I worked on a little mini dragon. I, again, tried really hard to finish up that skein of black. Wasn't quite successful with this project. And it does need finishing. I do need black for the wings and for the little tuft of hair or scales, whatever you want it to be. But as you saw in the previous video, I've used up all of my plain black. And then the last thing I made on Wednesday was another splooter, but I used it in the Bernat Bright Orange color and a larger size hook because I had a friend who wanted a Charmander plushie. Now I don't normally do IP, intellectual property, or licensed characters, but since it's a gift, no one's buying it and I'm not selling it, I'm good, and I was fine with that. So that was a nice little experimentation I had to do. I added the belly patch, I added the little flame on the back, and then again was able to use some nice fancy big colored eyes. And I do like the size that it made using the 6.5 hook with the Bernat yarn. You can't even tell that this is a mini based on the size. And I think I might maybe not make Charmanders, but make the mini sploots in the Bernat with the 6.5 just to give it a larger size. I might try a couple of them as well. And then the other thing I worked on Wednesday was again that top I was making. And I ended up using another skein of that sage cotton color. I just don't have anything to show you for that. As for Thursday, I did get a lot done. I worked on that top and again used another skein of that cotton color. So that is now 3 skeins of cotton yarn for the week, but 1 for Thursday. I also made a mini kitty in the pumpkin color. I used up the rest of the orange to be able to make this. And then I used up a little bit what was left of that green to finish up that skein from the dinosaur on Sunday. I also, staying with the spooky theme, went with a ghost cat. Went with a black cat with the ghosts. Now, something about this and something I would change if I were to do this again is I wouldn't do the frills on the bottom because they are going past where the feet are. So it can't sit right. It sits leaning forward and its little feet kick out the back. So I might have to troubleshoot if I were to do this again so that way it didn't have the frill on the bottom, and I don't know how that would look, or I just might not go with this pattern again, but I went for it. There's a ghost cat. Finishing up that custom order, I also made a plain gray in that pale gray color. So she had 1 tortoisey gray cat and then 1 plain gray cat. So here is the plain one, again with the custom eyes that she asked for to best match her cats. Almost done with Thursday. Like I said, I got a lot done. I made another mini dragon. All right, so my phone stopped recording and I didn't realize and fully finished making this video. So now we're gonna backtrack and we're gonna try again. Last thing I remember showing you was this little dragon. Again, I would list all the pattern designers on the screen. If there is not one listed, it's because it's my own pattern or I freehanded it. But this is the dragon in the Kaleidoscope color by the Premier Basic Chenille Tie-Dye. I love the tie-dyes. They're super soft. They're a great color selection. I really like working with this yarn. This took up 1 skein. And then I wasn't quite done with that color yet, and I made 5 little frogs, also using that Kaleidoscope color, and that took up another skein of yarn. As for Friday, or today, obviously the day is not done, but for our count for this week, it will be. I did finish skeins, but they were more in the form of scraps, so I went through my scrap bin and I grabbed a few colors, and I'm only counting it if I fully finished that scrap. So if there's still a bit in the ball, I'm not counting it because I didn't finish it. But I made 7 spiders, so I made one in this color, which will count as a skein for Friday. I made 2 in this color. I believe it's called Grassy from Bernat. The other one was Woodland Variegated, I believe. But this is Grassy. I did not finish up this scrap, so it does not count, but I made 2. This also won't count as a skein for today because I didn't finish it, but do have this spider. I do not remember what this one's called. But it's very pretty. I do like it. I made a sloth snuggler out of this color because it's so pretty. But that's 4 spiders. This will count as a skein. This is the gray, I don't know the exact name. I think it's Pebble Dot by Bernat Baby Blanket, but this will count because I finished up this one. And lastly, I did finish up a skein I have in this pinky purple tie-dye color. I'm blanking on the name. I will list the name of the yarn on the screen. But that's 2 spiders from this color, and that'd be 1 skein. I only made 7 spiders because that is the number I needed to meet my inventory goal, which I can talk about that in a whole other video. I'm not getting into that right now, but I only needed 7, so I made 7. And on that same note of only needing a certain amount to hit my goal, I made 2 ghosts. I didn't finish any skeins of yarn with this. And this is my ghost pattern. I didn't finish any skeins of yarn. I probably could have, but that was not the goal. The goal was to meet my inventory numbers. So I ended up making 2 ghosts. So that is everything I've made this week for a grand total of 12 skeins of yarn used this week for week 3. And then you can see on the screen right up here how much we have used so far in the month of July. Now we do have 14 days left in this month, so that would be about 2 more weeks, and we'll see how much more yarn I could use. Why don't you leave a comment about how much more yarn or how much total yarn you think I'm going to use before the end of July. And while you're there, make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure your notifications are on so that you can see when I post my next video. Bye!